My ex-wife cheated with her yoga instructor, took child support until a DNA test revealed the truth, and her whole plan collapsed in court. I thought I'd built an unbreakable family, only to see it collapse in a blaze of lies, forcing me to claw my way back for the daughter I swore to protect. I'm 38, a former military man turned private security contractor. I served 10 years in the Army, including 4 tours overseas, then switched to the private sector for better pay and a stable life for my family. I've always been the provider, hitting the gym 6 days a week since I was 19. I live modestly, saving every dollar to secure Lily's future, not chasing luxury trends. I met Jessica at 28, transitioning out of the military. She was a receptionist at a dental clinic in Seattle, sweet and grounded, or so I thought. From a middle-class family with student loans I helped clear, her life goals seemed reasonable. I was dead wrong. I ignored the red flags, her late-night texts, her guarded phone, blinded by love. It was a Tuesday, my longest day, after a 16-hour shift guarding a paranoid biotech CEO in Portland. I'd been pushing through exhaustion, haunted by Jessica's growing coldness, yet still believing we could fix things. I'd grabbed $95.00 worth of rainbow rolls with extra avocado from Jessica's favorite sushi spot in Bellevue. Her obsession with that place should have tipped me off. She was always there with friends. She'd been distant for months, glued to her phone. But I clung to hope, shaped by military grit. At 9:15 p.m. I walked in to find her sprawled on our $4,500.00 leather couch, scrolling Instagram. Her eyes flicked up, calculating, like she'd been waiting to strike. "I want a divorce," she said, not looking up. 8 years together, 6 married, a daughter I thought we both cherished. No eye contact, just 4 words shattering our family. "Throwing away everything we built?" I demanded. "You never deserved us," she hissed, venom dripping. I stood there like an idiot, still in my tactical pants and company polo, sushi getting warm on the table. "What?" I asked. "You heard me," she replied, still scrawling. "I've got a lawyer. Here's the deal." She looked up, smirking, listing demands like a barista taking orders. My Tacoma house, bought with military savings. Her Audi, primary custody of Lily. $4,000.00 monthly child support. I was already covering a $3,200.00 mortgage, $650.00 for her Audi, $380.00 for my Honda, $1,600.00 for my Honda, $680.00 for my Honda, $1,600.00 for my Honda, $1,600.00 for my Honda, $1,600.00 for my Honda, $250.00 for dance classes, utilities, groceries, her $180.00 Redmond gym membership, and her endless manicures, pedicures, massages, and hair appointments. "You're taking everything," I said, voice steady despite the chaos inside. She shrugged. "My lawyer says I get it all. Also, you get Lily every other weekend." I exploded, not violently but raw. "You're joking. I take her to school, stay up when she's sick, teach her to swim, read her stories, take her to the park, while you're at yoga?" Jessica, unfazed, picked up her phone. "Courts favor moms," it's standard. Then I noticed. Lily wasn't home. At 9:30 p.m., our 5-year-old wasn't in bed. "Where's Lily?" "At my mom's," Jessica said. This might get messy. She'd orchestrated this betrayal, and I was the idiot thinking love could save us. I set the sushi down, my appetite gone. "How long have you planned this?" Her smirk boiled my blood. "Long enough to know my worth." Title hit like a gut punch. After all I'd sacrificed, she claimed my life. "I need air," I said, storming out. I couldn't breathe in her poison any longer. "Your stuff's in the guest room," she called. Her texts hounded me that night. "Don't you dare fight me. Lily's better off without your chaos." I spent that night driving around Seattle trying to make sense of what had happened. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Jessica, each one more demanding than the last. "When will you be back? We need to discuss the details. My lawyer wants to meet Friday. Be available. I expect you to be civil about this. Lily doesn't need to see Daddy having a meltdown. That last one nearly made me drive off the road. Using Lily as a weapon already? That's when I knew this wasn't going to be a clean break. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyer meetings, paperwork, and watching Jessica systematically dismantle the life we'd built. She moved into the guest room and started going out more than ever. Every time I asked about Lily, it was always, she's at Mom's or she's having a play date. My first meeting with my lawyer, Thomas, was a wake-up call. He'd been recommended by an old military buddy who'd gone through a similar situation. "Look," Thomas said, leafing through Jessica's lawyer's initial paperwork, "I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The demands she's making are excessive, but not unheard of. Washington family courts tend to favor mothers unless there's clear evidence of unfitness. But I'm the primary caregiver," I insisted. "I'm the one who's there for Lily, day in and day out. Jessica's barely home 3 nights a week with all her classes and girls' nights." Thomas sighed, taking off his glasses. "Do you have documentation of that? Calendars, text messages, witness statements?" I didn't. I'd trusted her too much, never suspecting I'd need a paper trail. "Start documenting everything now," Thomas advised. "Every time she leaves Lily with someone else, every time she breaks a commitment, every penny you spend on the household, we're going to need all of it." Meanwhile, Jessica was painting a very different picture for anyone who'd listen. According to her, I was a controlling military type who never gave her freedom and used money to keep her dependent. She played the victim so well I almost doubted myself. Her friends ate it up. Even some mutual friends started looking at me differently. The first custody exchange after we set up the temporary schedule is burned into my memory forever. Jessica pulled up in my Audi. I hated how she flaunted it, a trophy of my sacrifice, wearing $250 0-cent Athleta leggings and some designer workout top. Lily ran to me the second she saw me. I hadn't been allowed to see her for almost 3 weeks. Jessica just stood there tapping her foot like we were inconveniencing her. "Here's her bag," she said, practically throwing it at me. "I've packed her medicine for her allergies. Don't forget to give it to her exactly at 7 o'clock a.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. She needs to be in bed by 9 o'clock. No sugar after 5 o'clock. No screen time after 6 o'clock. And make sure she does her dance stretches." I stared at her. I'd been handling Lily's medicine schedule for the past 3 years because Jessica couldn't deal with the stress of remembering it. I was the one who figured out her allergy triggers, found the right doctor, and set up the routine. "Anything else you want to explain to me about my own daughter?" I asked. She gave me this look like I was hired help she had to explain things to. "Just make sure she's ready by 5 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. I have yoga at 6 o'clock. You'll regret this," I muttered. "Try me," she shot back. That yoga class she was always running off to. We'll get to that later. Weekends with Lily were both heaven and hell. Heaven because I got to be with my little girl. Hell because I knew they were numbered. Every moment felt precious and terrifying. We'd build pillow forts in my new apartment, a depressing 1-bedroom in Everett that cost way too much because I needed to stay in Lily's school district. We'd bake cookies, watch Disney movies, go to the park, trying to pack a week's worth of love into 48 hours. Lily would ask about my day, tell me about her friends at school, show me her new dance moves. She seemed okay on the surface, but I could tell something was off. She was quieter, cleanier, waking up at night, asking if I was still there. "Daddy, why don't I see you every day anymore?" Lily asked one night as I tucked her in. It broke my heart. "Mommy says you're leaving us," she whispered, eyes teary. "Sometimes grown-ups need to live in different houses," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But I love you more than anything in the whole world. You know that, right?" She nodded, hugging her stuffed giraffe, the one I got her when she was born. "I love you too, Daddy. Can you read me another story?" I read her 3 more stories that night. I would have read 100 if she'd asked. Drop-offs were the worst. Lily would cling to me, crying, begging to stay longer. Jessica would stand there checking her watch, acting like we were causing a huge inconvenience. "She does this every time," Jessica would say, rolling her eyes. You're making it worse by dragging it out. Just go already." I started noticing changes in Lily after she'd been with Jessica. She'd come back with expensive new toys, but wearing the same clothes I'd sent her in, now dirty or stained. Her hair would be tangled like no one had bothered to brush it. She'd be exhausted, cranky from lack of sleep. When I brought it up at our next court date, Jessica's lawyer smoothly interjected, "Your Honor, Mr. Thompson is clearly trying to weaponize normal childhood behaviors against my client. Children get dirty, they play hard. Ms. Thompson is providing excellent care while trying to rebuild her life after years of being financially controlled." The judge nodded sympathetically at Jessica, who had magically produced tears on cue. I saw her smirk as the gavel fell, savoring my defeat. Each court appearance chipped away more of my rights. The temporary custody arrangement became semi-permanent. My child support payments increased. Jessica's demands grew more outlandish. She needed more money for Lily's activities I was never informed about, for educational supplies I never saw, for medical expenses despite Lily being on my insurance. Through it all, I kept showing up, kept fighting, kept trying to be the dad Lily deserved, even as the system seemed determined to reduce me to a paycheck. She texted "fail again" and Lily's mine for good. While this was going on, I was still trying to keep my career together. Executive protection isn't like regular security work. You can't check out mentally. One mistake and someone could get hurt or worse. I was pulling 65 to 75-hour weeks, trying to bank extra money because I knew Jessica's demands would clean me out. The schedule was brutal. 4:30 a.m. wake up, hit the gym. Couldn't let myself get soft. 6 p.m. clock a.m. get ready for work. 6:30 a.m. to 10:00 p.m. executive protection shifts. 10:30 p.m. try to FaceTime Lily before bed when Jessica allowed it. 11:00 p.m. meal prep. Try to sleep, fail, end up doing push-ups until exhaustion. The lack of sleep was getting to me. I'd catch myself zoning out during client briefings, missing details I never would have missed before. The divorce was a parasite, gnawing at my soul. My boss, Greg, an old military buddy who'd given me my start in the private sector, pulled me aside one day after I nearly dozed off during a client briefing. "Brother, what's going on with you?" he asked. "Clients are starting to notice you're not yourself." I told him everything. The divorce, the custody battle, Jessica's demands. Greg listened with that old sergeant's patience. "Look," he said finally, "I've got your back. But in our line of work, we can't afford distractions. These clients trust us with their lives. Take some time, get your head straight." He offered me 3 weeks of paid leave, more than generous in our industry. I spent it trying to get my life in order, meeting with Thomas, organizing my finances, trying to build a case for more custody. When I returned to work, I thought I had it under control. I was wrong. 4 weeks after coming back, I was assigned to a high-prefaces client, a software mogul who'd received death threats. It was a standard protective detail, something I could have handled in my sleep before all this. We were at a restaurant in downtown Seattle, client seated with his back to the wall as protocol dictated. I was scanning the room, doing all the right things on autopilot. Then my phone buzzed. Jessica had sent a photo of Lily at the hospital. No context, no explanation, just my little girl looking scared, hooked up to monitoring equipment. Jessica texted, "Step up or she's gone forever." I texted back, "What happened? Is she okay? Which hospital?" No response. Called, went straight to voicemail. Called her mother. No answer. I was freaking out, trying to maintain professional composure while my insides were shredded. Then I caught movement from the corner of my eye, someone approaching our table too fast, hand reaching inside their jacket. In any other circumstance, my training would have kicked in automatically. I would have stepped between the threat and the client, neutralized the situation. Instead, I hesitated just for a split second. In our line of work, that's all it takes. It turned out the guy was just a fan wanting an autograph, pulling out a notebook, not a weapon. Crisis averted, but my client noticed the delay. So did my team lead. Later that night, after confirming Lily was fine, it was just a routine checkup, Jessica's way of screwing with me, I got the call from Greg. "This isn't working, man. I'm sorry." 3 months later, I was called into the office. 2 clients had complained about my lack of focus. 17 years of perfect service, 10 in the Army, 7 in private security, and just like that, I was out. The severance was decent, but with Jessica's demands and legal fees piling up, it wouldn't last long. "Is there anything I can do?" I asked Greg, hating how desperate I sounded. He looked genuinely sorry. "Not right now. Get your personal life sorted, then we can talk. This industry is small. People remember both the good and the bad." I cleared out my desk while my now former colleagues awkwardly avoided eye contact. 17 years of exemplary service, multiple commendations, a spotless record, all wiped out because Jessica couldn't be bothered to send a follow-up text about our daughter being in the hospital. When I confronted her about it later, she just shrugged. "I thought you should know she was at the doctor. Not my fault you overreacted." "I lost my job because of that stunt," I told her, trying to keep my voice down because Lily was in the next room. Jessica actually smiled. "Well, that should make for an interesting conversation in court when you try to explain why you can't afford child support anymore." Jessica crowed. "No job, no daughter. I win." That's when I realized she'd done it deliberately. She wanted me to lose my job, wanted me to fail, because then she could paint me as the deadbeat dad who couldn't keep it together, couldn't provide for his kid. It was all part of her plan. The job market for specialized security work is weird. Either you're in or you're out, and word travels fast. A few old contacts tried to help, but nobody wants to take a chance on a guy going through a messy divorce. I started applying for everything. Mall security, night watchman, bouncer, anything to keep money coming in. Most places wouldn't touch me. Overqualified was the common response, meaning too expensive or a flight risk once something better came along. Finally, I landed a gig doing overnight security at a storage facility in Renton. Minimum wage, no benefits, graveyard shift. It was a humiliating fall, but I'd crawl through hell for Lily. The schedule was brutal in a different way. Working nights meant I barely saw daylight, barely slept. The few weekend days I had with Lily, I was a zombie, forcing myself to stay awake and present for her. 5 months of nothing but rejection and watching my savings drain away. Thomas started making noises about his fees. The apartment complex sent notices about late rent. The child support payments kept coming due, no matter how empty my bank account was. The first time I missed a child support payment, Jessica blew up my phone with texts. "Where's my money? I knew you'd turn out to be a deadbeat. Hope you enjoy jail. Lily deserves better than you." Each message felt like a knife. I'd never missed a payment for anything in my life, had a perfect credit score, always paid bills early. Now I was the guy who couldn't provide for his kid. I went to court to explain the situation, asking for a temporary reduction until I could get back on my feet. I brought all my job applications, rejection letters, bank statements showing I was nearly wiped out. Jessica showed up in another designer outfit, her lawyer looking smug. "Your Honor," her lawyer started. "What we have here is a classic case of voluntary unemployment. Mr. Thompson deliberately took a lower-paying position to avoid his obligations to his child. He's working beneath his qualifications by choice." The judge looked at me skeptically. "Is that true, Mr. Thompson?" I tried to explain about the job loss, the industry blacklisting, applying for everything I could find, but it all sounded like excuses, even to my ears. "The child support order stands," the judge ruled. "If you fall into arrears, there will be consequences." Consequences, right? I picked up a second job stocking shelves at a grocery store in Auburn during the day before heading to the storage facility at night. 3 hours of sleep became the norm. My health started to suffer. Lost weight, dark circles under my eyes, constant fatigue. Lily noticed during one of our weekends. She touched my face, concerned. "Daddy, are you sick?" I forced a smile. "Just a little tired, sweetheart." "Daddy's working a lot right now. Is it because of the money Mommy says you owe her? She told Grandma you're not paying for my dance classes anymore." That hurt worse than anything. Jessica using Lily as a pawn, making her worry about adult problems. I made sure never to speak ill of Jessica in front of Lily. But she had no such reservations about poisoning our daughter against me. Jessica had poisoned my daughter's heart. 2 more missed payments and the court's warnings got more serious. I sold my car, my watch, anything of value just to catch up. Started surviving on instant noodles and canned beans. Picked up odd jobs on my days off. Mowing lawns, painting houses, whatever paid cash. Then came that morning, 7 a.m. Loud pounding on my apartment door. I was already up. Old habits kept me up, but nothing prepared me for this shame. 2 cops stood there, looking uncomfortable. "Sir, we have a warrant for your arrest for failure to pay child support," the younger cop said. The younger cop hesitated, maybe sensing my service. The older one was numb to it all. The older one just looked tired, like he'd done this too many times. They were professional, at least. Let me change into proper clothes. Didn't make a scene. But walking out of my apartment building in handcuffs, that hits different. The holding cell was everything you'd expect. Cold, smelly, depressing. But the worst part was sitting there thinking about Lily. What would Jessica tell her? That Daddy's a criminal? That he didn't love her enough to pay? I tried calling Thomas from the jail phone, but his secretary said he couldn't represent me anymore due to my outstanding legal bills. Perfect. The public defender assigned to me looked about 12 and had a caseload that would break a seasoned attorney. He barely glanced at my file before our court appearance. "Just tell the judge you'll pay," he advised during our 5-minute consultation. "That's all they want to hear." "With what money?" I asked. "I'm already working 2 jobs. I've sold everything I own." He shrugged, already looking past me to his next case. "Figure it out, or you'll be back here in a month." The judge was unimpressed with my situation. "Mr. Thompson, the court doesn't care how you meet your obligations, only that you do. Your child deserves support." I wanted to scream about all the ways I'd supported Lily that had nothing to do with money. Bedtime stories, swimming lessons, doctor visits, about how Jessica was using the system to destroy me while pretending it was all about Lily's welfare. Instead, I just nodded and promised to pay. 4 days in county jail before a former military buddy found out and posted my bail. 4 days of missing work and not getting paid. Missing a scheduled weekend with Lily. I hit rock bottom, but Lily's face kept me fighting. County jail gives you time to think. I kept to myself, did push-ups in my cell, tried to maintain some routine. The other guys mostly left me alone. Maybe they could tell I wasn't the usual type. When I got out, there was a stack of mail waiting in my apartment, bills mostly, and a thick envelope with no return address. It was a letter from Ethan, my old teammate from the security company, one of the few guys I truly trusted. The letter was thick, and as soon as I started reading, I understood why. "Brother, I've been carrying this for too long. You deserve to know the truth," Ethan wrote. He'd been doing security for high-end hotel events in Spokane, and had seen Jessica there multiple times with her yoga instructor, Ryan, but they weren't doing yoga. The first time I saw them, I thought I was mistaken, but then it kept happening. Different hotels, different events, but always them, always looking too close to be just friends. I took photos, kept a log of dates and times. I know this is going to hurt, but there's more. The next part made me physically sick. The timeline doesn't add up. Jessica was seeing Ryan before Lily was born, way before. I've got security footage timestamps that prove it. I've been sitting on this info for years, man. When you guys seemed happy, I couldn't bring myself to wreck your family. But now that she's putting you through hell, you deserve to know what you're fighting for. Inside the envelope were dozens of photos. Jessica and Ryan at hotels, restaurants, shopping together. Some were dated before our wedding in 2013, some from when she was pregnant in 2016, some from just weeks ago in 2022. He wrote, "She laughed about draining you dry. All those late-night yoga classes, the weird work schedule she claimed Ryan had, the way she'd get defensive if I suggested joining one of her classes. And Lily, God, Lily." I stared at her photo on my nightstand, really looking at her features for the first time with this new knowledge. Her green eyes, unlike my Hazel, her lighter hair, the way she smiled. Always thought she got that from my mom. Had I been willfully blind all these years? Had I seen what I wanted to see? Because I loved that little girl so much? I called Ethan immediately, my hands shaking so bad I could barely dial. "Why now?" I asked when he picked up. "Why not when it could have saved me all this hell?" Ethan sounded genuinely remorseful. "I thought about it every day, man. But you seemed happy. You loved that kid so much. I couldn't be the one to destroy that. Then when the divorce happened, I figured you guys had your reasons, that maybe things had just run their course naturally. So what changed? I saw Jessica and Ryan at another event last week. Overheard them laughing about you, about how they were taking you for everything. That's when I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I sat with this information for a whole day trying to process it. Part of me wanted to confront Jessica immediately, to scream and rage at her for the years of lies, but the soldier in me, the tactician, knew better. This was ammunition, possibly the only kind that could help me in this war she'd started. I went to the storage facility that night, worked my shift in a daze. When morning came, instead of going home to sleep, I went to a different lawyer's office in Olympia, one recommended by Ethan, who specialized in paternity fraud. The second I got out of jail, I contacted this new lawyer, showed him Ethan's letter, the photos, everything. He didn't sugarcoat it. "This is going to get ugly," he said. "But if what your friend documented is true, we can probably get the child support orders thrown out. First thing we need is a DNA test." My new Olympia lawyer grinned. "This is our silver bullet." Getting the test ordered wasn't easy. Jessica fought hard, claimed I was just trying to avoid my responsibilities, but the judge looked at Ethan's evidence and approved it. The 3 weeks waiting for results were the longest of my life. I spent hours staring at photos of Lily, looking for signs, clues, some hint I should have seen. I didn't sleep much during those weeks. The results came in a plain white envelope. Medical terminology, lots of numbers, but only one mattered: 0% probability of paternity. I didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't do anything for about an hour, just sat there holding that paper, feeling like someone had ripped my heart out. When I finally could move, I called my lawyer. His tone changed immediately when I told him the results. "This changes everything," he said. "We're going to file to vacate all child support orders, and if she's been collecting from the biological father too, we're looking at fraud charges." The lawyer called later that day. We did some digging. "She's been collecting child support from Ryan too, double-dipping the whole time. This is fraud, clear and simple." My lawyer called. "She's scamming Ryan too, double-dipping." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal activity, subpoenas flying, bank records being pulled, Jessica's carefully constructed house of cards beginning to collapse. Through it all, I couldn't stop thinking about Lily. Biologically, she wasn't mine, but in every way that mattered. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every middle-of-the-night comfort, she was my daughter. The thought of never seeing her again was unbearable. "What about custody?" I asked my lawyer during one of our meetings. He gave me a sympathetic but realistic look. "Legally, you have no standing now that paternity has been disproven. But given the circumstances, the fraud, the potential criminal charges, we might be able to make a case for some kind of visitation based on the established relationship. It's a long shot, though." Long shot or not, I had to try. Lily was the only thing in this mess worth fighting for. Court day was surreal. Jessica showed up in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, fresh from some expensive salon appointment in Bellevue. Her lawyer tried spinning a story about her being confused about paternity, claiming she truly believed I was Lily's father. Then my lawyer started laying out the evidence: bank statements showing child support deposits from both me and Ryan, hotel receipts going back to 2012, security footage from multiple locations, text messages between Jessica and Ryan discussing their plan, medical records showing she knew about the paternity all along. The judge's face got darker with each piece of evidence. She screamed, "You'll never take her!" "Mrs. Thompson, what you've done here goes beyond simple fraud. You've intentionally deceived 2 men, manipulated the court system, and most importantly, used an innocent child as a pawn in your scheme. This court takes a very dim view of such actions." Then came the most satisfying moment of the entire ordeal. The judge looked directly at Jessica, his expression harder than I'd seen in all our previous appearances. The court finds clear and convincing evidence of fraud. All child support orders are hereby vacated. Mr. Thompson is entitled to restitution for all payments made, plus interest. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Jessica's face went white. This wasn't how her script was supposed to play out. She'd been so certain of her victory, so confident in her ability to manipulate the system that she hadn't prepared for this outcome. "But, Your Honor," her lawyer stammered, "my client is the primary caregiver for a young child. Surely you wouldn't—" "Counsel," the judge interrupted, "your client has committed fraud against this court and against two individuals. The fact that she has a child doesn't grant her immunity from the consequences of her actions." Jessica was arrested right there in the courtroom. The schadenfreude was so intense I could practically taste it. She got 4 years for fraud. But here's where karma really kicked in. During booking, they found her designer purse stuffed with illegal pills. Not just a few, but enough to add intent to distribute charges. That 4-year sentence turned into 8 real quick. The best part, Ryan disappeared to Canada when the child support orders came down. Jessica's sister begged, "She's changed!" I scoffed. Let her pray for mercy. 3 weeks ago I got a call from Jessica's sister. "Jessica's found God in prison, wants to apologize, wants my help getting her sentence reduced. Claims she's a changed woman who sees the error of her ways." You know what I told her sister? New phone. Who this? As for Lily, her situation initially broke my heart. With her mom in prison and her biological dad in the wind, she was headed for foster care. Despite not being her biological father, I petitioned the court for custody based on my established relationship with her and the fact that I was the only stable parent figure she'd ever known. It was an uphill battle. The system isn't designed for situations like ours, but sometimes, just sometimes, the right thing prevails. Lily's living with me now, full custody since both biological parents are out of the picture. It's not easy explaining to a 5-year-old why Mommy's gone, but we're making it work. Explaining Jessica's absence is a daily wound. Lily asks, "Did I make Mommy go?" I've got a new job managing security for a major hotel chain in Seattle. Better hours, better pay, home every night. The best revenge? Lily's thriving. Her teachers say she's happier than ever, making friends, doing great in her activities, actually sleeping through the night now. But her quiet moments of doubt linger, a reminder of the pain we carry. And Jessica, last I heard, prison food isn't quite up to her usual standards. We're healing, but the scars run deep and trust may never return. Have you faced betrayal like this? Comment, like, share, let's unpack the fight for justice.